I am the Social Inclusion Coordinator for the City of Sturt, and social inclusion is quite a mixed bag of things. Like, I think I've got the job that everything comes to me. So when you think about social inclusion, it really does encompass pretty much everything. So it's all about making people feel welcome, feeling included, being able to access things, feeling that they belong. And so this beach story really started back in 2016. So in 2016, I was invited to a meeting from a couple of local residents from Henley Beach. And one was the president at the time of it was called WACRA, Western Adelaide Coastal Residents Association. And the other chap was from he was part of a political party called Dignity for Disability. His name was Rick Neagle, and his son had a disability. And they spoke to me and they said, well, you know, what's the deal with Henley Square? Because Henley Square is this, at that time we had just won awards for the new design of Henley Square. You know, it looked amazing and all these sort of things. And we had purposely built this ramp at just the right angle. So, you know, people with disabilities could get down to the beach, or so people thought. But in reality, they couldn't. And so we then went on this journey, and he said, well, you know, why can't we have beaches accessible? And you know, there's quite a few families just around the coastal area that have people that they're caring for who just can't get to the beach, and it's not fair. And I said, well, too right, it's not fair. Like, the City of Sturt needs to look at this, and we need to do this. So they spoke to me, and I thought, right, we've got to make this happen. We can't, you know, win all these awards and then have such a significant part of our population that can't get to the beach. So that was where my journey started back in 2016. And so I started thinking about, well, who else has accessible beaches? And there wasn't many at the time. There was two other councils. One was down south and one was Port Adelaide, who were trialling beach mats at the time. And so I sort of had a conversation with them, and that was where it sort of started. But then from there I thought, well, we need to really get the surf lifesaving clubs on board, and we need to start looking at how we can make this happen. So I contacted Surf Lifesaving SA, and they were really good, and we had a chat with them, and we made an appointment to basically drive down the coast to look at all the different beaches within Sturt. So although we were thinking about Henley, we weren't sure if Henley would be suitable, because when you're thinking about beach access, you know, you just look at the beach and you go, well, every beach is different. There's not one beach that's the same. You know, there's different tides, tide heights, there's different amounts of sand, some might have a really huge distance to the hard sand, there might be some that only have a short distance, there's parking, there's a whole range of things that you've got to look at, shade, toileting. So, you know, so that's how we started our journey. And with the audit that we did with Surf Lifesaving SA, thankfully Henley Beach was a good candidate. So we're like, yes, that's good. So that was sort of where we started. And then from there, we started looking at products. So we're thinking, well, okay, there's different types of beach matting. So Port Adelaide had a totally different type of beach mat to the one down south. I think it was Seacliff. They had a different type of mat. Both of them had problems. They also, you know, they had some success, but they also had problems with some of their mats as well. And they didn't have wheelchairs. They didn't have beach wheelchairs. They didn't really, I felt, consider the whole picture around making a beach totally accessible. And so then I thought, okay, I think Sturt can do better than that. And so that's when we then, not only did we decide we wanted to have an accessible beach, we thought we're going to push it up a notch. Well, I thought that anyway. And so then we thought, well, how are we going to get the council on board and the community on board? So then we thought about, well, what about doing a trial day? And that's where Shane came in, and Shane offered to come over from Victoria and run a trial day for us. And that was an amazing event, because the trial day at the time was the largest of its type in Australia. And the thing about me is I can be a little bit sneaky sometimes. I know I'm being filmed, but I can be a little bit sneaky. So in the back of my mind, because with council, when you're trying new things, you don't always necessarily know if they're going to be accepted or not. Because councils, although they like to say that they're progressive, in reality, when it's time for doing something totally new that's never been done before, you can sort of hit a few brick walls. So I knew I had to get over these brick walls to make this happen. So I thought, right, with Shane offering a free trial day, come and try day, I thought, this is going to be big, because this has not happened before in Adelaide. So I know Port Adelaide, you know, they had their mats were on trial, but they didn't actually have a trial day as such, where people could come, test products, you know, really look at what was happening in the way of accessible beaches. So I thought, right, this is what we'll do. And so before I knew it, we rocked up on the day. We had Channel 7, we had ABC, we had the Messenger Press, the Advertiser, we had all these, you know, medias there, and we're like, oh, this is going to be good, this is going to be good. No one can back out now, because once you get such momentum going, you can't back out of something like that. So anyway, our mayor came along, obviously, to be interviewed, and she said, this is great, Vesna. And I said, yes, it is great. And she said, well, what should I say? And I said, well, tell them we're going to be the first totally accessible beach in South Australia, and tell them that we're going to have a changing places toilet. And she goes, okay, I will. And so she did. She didn't realise the changing places toilet was going to cost us $250,000. But hey, we were in. And so anyway, so this was our day, and it was fantastic. And we had so many thousands of hits nationally and internationally on social media, and we were so excited. And that was then where we really started building momentum. And then once we were building momentum, obviously we had some great conversations with the Henley Surf Lifesaving Club as well, and they were really on board, and they were wanting things to happen as well. And so that was really good. And then we started getting some sponsors. So we got the Lifetime Support Authority, who very kindly donated 3 of the beach access wheelchairs, which was great. We had Bendigo Bank. I think they gave us $15,000 in cash towards purchasing the beach mat, etc. And you know, we were well on the way. The one thing that did hold us back at the time was storage. So storage is always an issue, and logistics can be an issue. So, you know, there were so many questions that came up, which was like, well, with the mat, how are we going to run this mat? Is the mat going to be rolled out daily? Is it going to be left out? What's going to happen with the mat? What's going to happen with the chairs? Who's going to look after the chairs? You know, all this stuff's worth money. The toilet, the changing places toilet. How are we going to keep it clean? How are we going to keep it maintained? Who's going to look after that? What's going to happen? Where are we going to put it? You know, and I remember having probably 12 council staff having this intense meeting about where we're going to put the changing places toilet, because, you know, one of the people who worked at Charles Sturt, who was part of the original design of Henley Square, said, well, aesthetically, we don't want, because I said we need to put it where all the other toilets are, because that's inclusive, right? That's inclusive. You don't want to put it somewhere else. You've got to put it with everything. And he said, well, aesthetically, it's not going to look right, and plus there's too many underground cables and all these things, and we just can't put it there. And I said, well, where do you propose to put it? And he said, oh, we'll put it around the back of the club where the storage facility is going to be built for the equipment. and that'll be sweet. And I said, no, that's not sweet. That's not sweet because that's not inclusive. We have to be inclusive. And to be inclusive means if I'm here with my family or my carer and we're all going to the toilet, well, we're all going to go to the same place. We're not going to take you 200 metres to another location to take you to the toilet. So I won that argument eventually. and to my credit, the toilet is there. Thank goodness. You know, but there were a lot of logistics to work out. So, for example, they said, well, with the toilet, like, how are we going to stop everybody else coming in and wrecking the toilets? Because as a council, toilets get trashed all the time. People think we don't have our toilets clean. Trust me, we have our toilets cleaned all the time. But people come in, and especially in the summer, they just get trashed. And so then, you know, along the way you learn these things. So we learnt about the MLAC key. So I'm not sure if you know about the MLAC key, but the MLAC key is this new thing that goes, and it's all around the world, and it goes for things like the changing places toilet. So if you're with someone with high needs who, you know, who has a carer, who will need a lifter, needs assistance with toileting, with changing, those sort of things, then the changing places is for them. So, and I thought, wow, this is going to be great. So the MLAC key, if you have someone with special needs like that who does you know, need to have a carer and needs assistance with toileting, etc., the MLAC key is something that you can then go to. There's a website, and on our Charles Sturt website, there's a whole list of how you can get a MLAC key. And they're not very expensive, they're only about $10. But once you've got one, you've always got one. And then you can use this MLAC key all around Australia. And so the City of Charles Sturt has 3 changing places toilets at the moment. Actually, we've got a 3rd one being built. So we've got one at the St Clair Recreation Centre. There's a changing places toilet there. And we've got the changing places toilet at Henley. And it's through having the changing places toilet at Henley, having the beach wheelchairs, which can be booked for half days, either mornings or afternoons, 7 days a week. It's through having parking, extra parking. It's through having drop-off parking zones for vans and things like that. It's a whole range of things that we've considered, and the key, you can borrow the key just like you can a library book as well. So that's really handy, and it's all free. And so it's through that we were very, very pleased to be in. I think it was last year that the Premier Stephen Marshall, when he was launching the Inclusive SA plan, that he declared the City of Charles Sturt as the first totally inclusive beach in South Australia. And so I was really very happy about that. Thank you very much. And yeah, so that was like the beginning of our journey. And like I've written a few notes here. So in 2016, you know, the community request came in. On 4th of February 2017, we had our trial day. On December 9th, 2018, we launched our first summer with, you know, all the equipment that we had. And then in December 2019, we launched our toilet, Changing Places toilet. So, you know, it was quite a journey. It took 3 years, but it was certainly worth it. And, you know, and for me, the joy, I'll never forget when we launched in 2019, I saw this man and his wife and his 2 kids. They came for that day. He had his own chair and he just rolled it down the mat, and he got onto the hard sand, and he just went to the side a little bit, and he just dropped himself on the sand, and the kids, they went to the beach and they had a swim. And, you know, and he just looked so happy, and I just about cried, because I'm like, wow, you know, of all the stuff that I've done in my life in working for council, like that was something that was really close to my heart, was the fact that we didn't even, just by doing that, he could have a great day with his family, and that was something that he couldn't have done before at Henley Beach. So yeah, so I guess that's my story. I've got a film that I'd like to play. Then if you have any questions at all about beach accessibility, I'll be here and I'll be happy to answer questions. And from us moving forward, we will be looking at creating accessible beaches across the coast now. And we have been in discussions with this club as well about making that happen here. So yeah, we'll watch the film and see what you think.
Always been one of my dreams.
Hi Abby.
Hello.
Thanks for having a chat with us today.
Thank you for making all this possible. This
You're
is awesome.
Just wondering, how did it feel to be back at the beach today?
It felt awesome, actually being the first time that I can really feel the water around me and just sort of feel like I'm actually swimming or walking in the water. It was the most amazing feeling, as I've always been one of my dreams, is to just go along the water. Not necessarily swim out, but just walk along in the water and to have that sensation is awesome.
Right.
Yeah, the best feeling.
And did you get to test out the chairs?
Yes, I tested the big floating chair, and also that's the mobility chair, and then I also tested the Da Vinci chair as well.
Yeah. And how did you find the difference?
Well, I really fell in love with the Da Vinci because I'm pretty mobile myself. And I found that one was awesome because it actually gave me the chance to hold on to the front and stand and squish my feet into the sand, and also to be able to go along. And I found myself just suddenly doing this. And I've always had a dream to be able to go in the water and just go like that casually. And then I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh my God, I'm doing it. And then I started splashing the volunteers. But it was just the best feeling. And then we saw a crab going along the sand. And I actually jumped out of the chair, put my feet down, and I'm like, oh, I hope I can feel it. And they're like, no, you don't want it to bite you. And I'm like, yes, I do. Because it's something I've never experienced. And it's just, and also to see everyone else. But the mobility chair, I felt a bit like I was being a bit too lazy. It felt more like a deck chair where it's just sort of like that, and it didn't give me the ability to actually move as much. But I still found it really good in the fact that it goes out deeper as well, and it does feel like you're getting that buoyancy. So when people were in the water and you see them standing and they jump with the wave, it was almost like I was doing that myself, so I was like, woo, woo. So it was awesome. I do like both, but I love the Da Vinci.
We're hoping to get some funding so that we can purchase a mat and have it here ready for next summer. So if we were to do that, how would that affect you?
I'd be down here every weekend.
Would you?
Oh, definitely. And also because I've got many nieces and nephews. So I quite often bring them down to the beach. But I always sit up here. I don't go down because I can get down the ramp, but that's it, it gets bogged. And I don't expect my nieces and nephews to always help me, you know. I want them to have fun as well. But this way, I'll be able to go out down there and be at the water with them as well. Instead of them running back up saying, "You're okay? Do you need anything?" And then they go back. You know what I mean? So they can play and I can sit down there with them. So it will make everything feel you're included in life. And that's what I love, being included as well, and having just that average ability just to go to the beach. Awesome.
Great.
Yeah, so well done Charles Sturt Council, well done Push Mobility, and well done Access Beaches.
Hi John, thanks for coming along and being interviewed today.
Pleasure.
So how does it feel to be back on the beach today?
Quite good actually, it's first time, so because I've been in my wheelchair and the beaches that I go to, they've got no access for people in wheelchairs like me to go onto the beach. But down here, I had the chance to go into the water for the first time. Which
Since
I
when?
Ever. First time. Never been in the water since. So it's the first time I've actually been in the water.
And how did it feel? Were you in a chair?
I went into the one that went in the water, the duck thing, I call it the aqueduct.
The floating one?
The floating one, yes. I went in there and I went right out and I loved it. I just could have stayed in there. But the staff are excellent, they're doing their job well, so it's good to be back in the water after, because my partner and my friends, they go in the water and I just can't get in there. So I've got to sit in this and it's hard for me to go in the water and enjoy myself, but down here I enjoyed it. Absolutely enjoyed it for the first time.
So it must be so nice to be included with everybody else.
Oh yes, especially if you've got a disability or you lost a limb or you're paralysed or you're quadriplegic, at least you've got the support where you can get to go into the pool or into the water.
Well, I'm so glad you're here today and you could enjoy the beach.
I did, same here. Well, I'd like to thank Charles Sturt as well and the Mayor for their good hospitality and their great job.
Thanks, John.
You're welcome.
So the beach mats are out from October to Easter every year, 24/7. And you get on our website and everything's there. You can go in and you can look at the calendar and you can book what dates you want. So if you want a whole day, that's fine. You just got to book the morning and the afternoon. And you've got to have the MLAC key, obviously, to get into the storage area and to use the toilets. And there's various parking around the place. So where the changing places toilet is, we've got a, I think it's a 10-minute drop-off zone as well. So if you're in a van or something, you can always unload and then go and park and come back. So we do try to think of as much as we can, and you know, it's worked out really well because we do have the Henley Square, so we've got the restaurants and everything as well, and so people can now you know, be comfortable in the fact that they can bring people along with them who do have special, you know, high needs as well. So I guess the only downside is because we have the toilet with the existing toilets, which I talked about, if you do need to be hoisted into the wheelchair that you book, you will have to bring the wheelchair over to the changing places toilet to do that transfer. That's the only downside for people with those higher needs. But apart from that, it's because we just didn't have the storage. So, and the good thing is though, with having the beach wheelchairs at the Henley Surf Life Saving Club, and with them being a partner, that they're now running special needs groups as well. So they've got classes for a team of kids called Snippers, which is the nippers with special needs, and like they've been having amazing results with that as well through having the chairs. But not just that, it's also, I think, because it's just opened up a whole new world for them. Like they're really starting to think inclusion and accessibility in everything that they do. And for us at Charles Sturt, we're sort of opened up that Pandora's box too now, and we've written a disability access and inclusion plan, which will be endorsed in a couple of months. And so we're on a much greater journey than where we started, and we're just hoping to just, utilise universal design with everything that we do, and to be more inclusive with everything that we do as well. The benefit of just the mat itself is that, we've got elderly people, we've got kids with kids who are in pushers, and we've got families who've got a whole bunch of gear, and it's accessible to everybody. So there's thousands of people, able-bodied people, use the mat because it's just easier. So it's just making a huge difference in people's lives.